With the evolution of technologies, pragmatics, or speaker meaning, has had to evolve as well. The advent of the telephone meant that communicators could not rely on facial cues or body language to convey their messages to one another, and so speaker meaning relied on the voice. Later, texting and the rise of the internet meant that not just visual, but conventional audio cues became useless. So, how did we compensate? Well,
Text-speak has been condemned by some to be a virus of our language. But in reality, it showcases the adaptation of language to modern technology. Texting has a lot of abbreviations, including see you instead of see you, be instead of be, to instead of to, and many more. But these abbreviations are nothing new. The English language has been abbreviating words ever since it has been written down. Words like exam instead of examination and fridge instead of refrigerator are also examples of abbreviation. But they've become so common in everyday use that they're considered words on their own. Acronyms like LOL and OMG have their meaning changed through abbreviating them. Saying lol doesn't mean you're actually laughing out loud. Rather, it's a marker of empathy and helps people connect with each other. Texting leaves many conventions behind and creates new ones, adapting to the modern age, showing that language is always changing.
Now we enter the risky territory of punctuation. How do punctuation and pragmatics intertwine in text-speak? Punctuation in text-speak can look different than it would in its traditional written form. Adding things like haha or lol has been observed to replace punctuation, or replace where punctuation is expected in speech. Which brings us to the punctuation effect. In vocal speech, laughter occurs at places in the speech stream associated with pauses, phrase boundaries, and at the beginnings and ends of statements in question. In text-speak, we try to emulate spoken speech to give hints and cues as to what the invisible meaning in the messages we are communicating are. So you can see a difference between I hate you, haha, and I hate you, punctuation mark. With the inclusion of laughter, to punctuate, the message seems to imply a lighthearted or playful response. The second I hate you implies frigidity. We can see that the punctuations in forms of periods, question marks, or laughter lets the other person know where you want the conversation to go and the appropriate response. In other words, whether you're giving positive face, in which the LOL or haha are used as the face-saving act in efforts to show solidarity, or negative face, where there are face-threatening acts to demonstrate discontent or anger. When you can't see someone eye to eye, punctuation in all its forms can be used as a tool to uncover the invisible meaning behind messages.
how do you read this first sentence? And how do you read this one? Using all caps in internet speak often communicates volume. Who hasn't gone into an internet argument and told someone to stop yelling when they wrote in all caps? But capitalization also serves the purpose of emphasis. In conventional pragmatics, a speaker inflects to emphasize, or to suggest an ironic pretend importance to a concept, conveying sarcasm. In this way, capitalization replaces inflection and body language, and speaker meaning is preserved despite the change in medium.
Ring. Okay, one more time. Ever heard of Leet Speak? This elite language is also known as hacker speak, initially established as a method to evade online government surveillance. Now, skilled players and hackers substitute numbers, glyphs, and symbols in a similar fashion, especially in online gaming. This can range from basic, using threes to replace e's, or really advanced. It may be really difficult to tell whether a user of LeetSpeak is giving you a compliment or telling you that you're horrible at the game. Thankfully, a matrix has been created to give a sense of the connotations behind commonly used words and the situations in which you would encounter them. Believe it or not, LeetSpeak goes beyond just funky-looking texts and jargon. There's a whole system of abbreviations and suffixes within the language. Though it looks fun, don't try to use it too much. People might troll you back.
With our increasing dependability on conversing through texting, it can be very difficult to express emotions effectively. That's where emojis come in. Emojis, which are graphic symbols used in texting, can take the form of smileys to display emotion. However, we cannot rely on emojis alone to properly display the multimodality of language. For instance, pragmatic characteristics of language such as implicature can't be displayed through emojis alone. This is displayed in a study conducted by Caroline Kelly. She presented some students with the sentence, "I'm fine." 17% of students thought that the person sending the text felt fine. 6% of students thought that the person felt happy. 3% of students thought that the person was grateful that you care. This study displays that emojis are not interpreted in the same way by everyone. The answers differed when the participants tried to understand the context in which the emoji was used. This means that the recipient of the message needs context, otherwise they must make assumptions as to what the sender of the text means with the emoji included after the text. Therefore, there is no universal understanding of emojis. They can only articulate the multimodality of language along with context and reference.
An example of language used in memes is lolspeak, which is a complex and systematic reimagining of the English language. Many people have attempted to define lolspeak and its relationship to English by putting forward that perhaps lolspeak is a type of pidgin language. This may be an appealing proposition, as we can very easily imagine English to be its superstraight lexifying language. Instead, we see lolspeak emerging purely from a manipulation of English, and therefore not appropriately a Creole or a pidgin. What becomes quite apparent about lolspeak is that what we might consider to be phonetic is often motivated by the orthographic conventions. The inverse of the letters in the to give TEH is a common typing mistake, but the mistake has been appropriated as the standard form in lolspeak. This orthographic joke has interestingly bled into pronunciation. When people read lolcat memes aloud, they don't say the, but instead say t. It should be noted that within one sentence, we could have two uses of t and one use of da, another common replacement for the. A simplification of the interdental fricative. This exemplifies the fact that lolspeak's rules are not as rigid as those of natural languages.
The word emoticon, a construction of the words emotion and icon, refers to graphic representations of facial expressions which often follow utterances in written computer-mediated communication. It has Western style, Japanese style, Korean style, and Chinese style. The Japanese style emoticon called kaomoji is made out of Japanese characters and grammar punctuations, so it's actually a hyponym of emoticon. The emoticon has two main functions. First, as emoticon indicators map directly onto facial expressions. Second, as indicators of non-emotional meanings mapped conventionally onto facial expressions. From the pragmatic level, people may sometimes use it in a wrong way. From my own experience, when I chat with my mom, she sent a kaomoji like this to me to express her happiness. However, I usually use that kaomoji to express some kind of trouble. Thus, I misunderstood that she was troubled and worried for her in May. Although the emoticons bring our life more convenience and diversity, but sometimes can put us in an embarrassed condition if we don't get the standard meaning of the emoticon.
Overall, the multimodality of language can be conveyed through mobile communication, leetspeak, emojis, emoticons, capitalization, abbreviation, memes, and punctuation. Thus, we can conclude that texting and other online communication systems are an evolution of language that have the same pragmatic structure as face-to-face communication, just in a modern format.